James Potter. The Cave of Treasures. Written by James Pullen 2025. Chapter 1. The Boy with the Mark. In the mystical land of Eldoria, where the sun dipped below the horizon in hues of violet and gold, a child was born under an ominous sign. The air crackled with magic, and the winds whispered secrets of fate as the villagers gathered outside the ancient stone walls of Eldergrove Academy. It was a day that would be etched into the annals of history, for the child, James Potter, bore a mark that would shape his destiny, a mark that would forever tie him to the dark wizard Pullen. As the midwife cradled the newborn in her arms, the villagers gasped. On James's left arm, a swirling sigil glowed faintly, a dark emblem that seemed to pulse with a life of its own. The mark of the beast, they murmured, a harbinger of both greatness and peril. It was said that those who bore such a mark were destined for extraordinary feats, but at a terrible cost. The elders exchanged worried glances, their faces etched with concern, for they knew the legends that surrounded the mark. It was a symbol of potential, yes, but also of the darkness that sought to consume the unwary. As the years passed, James grew, his childhood marked by the duality of his existence. He was a boy of remarkable talent, with a natural affinity for magic that set him apart from his peers. But the mark on his arm was a constant reminder of the shadows that loomed over him. His mother, a kind-hearted healer, often told him stories of brave wizards who had faced the darkness and emerged victorious. "You have a gift, James," she would say, brushing her fingers over the mark. "But you must learn to control it. The darkness is always watching." At Eldergrove Academy, nestled within the enchanted woods of Eldoria, James found solace among his friends. There was Alara, a fierce and determined witch with a fiery spirit, and Rowan, a gentle giant with a heart as big as his stature. Together, they formed an unbreakable bond, navigating the trials of magic and friendship. They spent countless hours in the Academy's library, poring over ancient tomes and practicing spells, their laughter echoing through the hallowed halls. But as James honed his skills, the mark on his arm began to manifest in unexpected ways. During a particularly intense training session, he felt a surge of power coursing through him, igniting the sigil with a brilliant light. The air around him crackled, and his friends watched in awe as he conjured a storm of fire and wind. "James, that was incredible," Alara exclaimed, her eyes wide with admiration. But beneath her excitement lay a flicker of concern. "You need to be careful. The mark, it's dangerous." James nodded, the weight of her words settling heavily on his shoulders. He had always felt the darkness lurking just beneath the surface, a constant companion that whispered temptations and fears. He was determined to prove himself, to show that he could wield his power for good, but the mark was a reminder of the fine line he walked. As the seasons changed, so too did the atmosphere at Eldergrove Academy. Whispers of Pullen's return began to circulate among the students and faculty. The dark wizard, once thought defeated, was rumored to be gathering strength in the shadows, seeking to reclaim his lost power. The elders warned of the danger, urging the students to remain vigilant. "The mark on James's arm is a beacon," one elder warned, his voice grave. "Pullen will seek him out, drawn by the darkness that binds them." James felt the weight of those words, a chill creeping down his spine. He had always known that the mark was more than just a symbol, it was a connection to the very darkness that threatened to engulf him. As he trained, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched, that the shadows were closing in around him. One fateful evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the academy grounds, James and his friends gathered in their favorite spot, a secluded glade where the ancient trees whispered secrets of old. They shared stories, laughter, and dreams of the future, but the air was thick with an unspoken tension. James could feel it, a palpable sense of foreboding that hung over them like a storm cloud. "Do you ever wonder what it would be like to face Pullen?" Rowan asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "To stand against the darkness." James's heart raced at the thought. "I don't know if I'm ready for that," he admitted, his gaze drifting to the mark on his arm. "What if I can't control it? What if I become like him?" Alara reached out, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "You're not like him, James. You have us. We'll face whatever comes together." But as the words left her lips, a chilling wind swept through the glade, and the shadows deepened. James felt a surge of energy, a flicker of darkness that sent a shiver down his spine. He looked around, his heart pounding. Did you feel that? Before his friends could respond, a figure emerged from the shadows, cloaked in darkness. Pullen stood before them, his presence commanding and terrifying. The air crackled with malevolence as he regarded James with a predatory gaze. "Ah, the boy with the mark," he purred, his voice smooth as silk. "You've grown, but you cannot escape your fate." James's heart raced as he stepped forward, instinctively placing himself between Pullen and his friends. "You won't take me," he declared, his voice steady despite the fear coursing through him. Pullen chuckled, a sound devoid of warmth. "Oh, but you misunderstand, young Potter. I'm not here to take you. I'm here to offer you a choice." He extended a hand, and the shadows around him writhed like living creatures. "Join me, and together we can unleash your true potential. Embrace the darkness, and you will become unstoppable." James felt the pull of the darkness, a seductive whisper that promised power beyond his wildest dreams. But he also felt the warmth of his friends behind him, their unwavering support grounding him. "I won't join you," he said, his voice firm. "I choose to fight against the darkness." Pullen's expression darkened, and the shadows around him surged forward, coiling like serpents. "So be it," he hissed. "You will regret this choice, boy. The mark will be your undoing." With a flick of his wrist, Pullen unleashed a torrent of dark magic, and James instinctively raised his hands, channeling the energy within him. The mark on his arm flared to life, illuminating the glade with a brilliant light. The clash of magic erupted in a dazzling display, a battle of light and darkness that echoed through the trees. As the energy crackled around them, James felt the weight of his friend's presence, their belief in him fueling his resolve. Together, they fought against the encroaching shadows, their combined magic pushing back against Pullen's dark power. The glade became a battleground, a swirling tempest of light and darkness, as the fate of Eldoria hung in the balance. In that moment, James understood the true nature of the mark on his arm. It was not merely a symbol of darkness, it was a testament to his strength, his ability to choose his own path. With each surge of magic, he felt the darkness recede, the shadows retreating before the light of his determination. As the battle raged on, Pullen's expression shifted from confidence to fury. "You think you can defy me?" he roared, his voice echoing through the glade. "You are nothing without the darkness." But James stood firm, his heart blazing with the light of hope and friendship. "I am everything because of the light," he declared, channeling the energy of his friends and the magic of Eldoria. With one final surge, he unleashed a wave of brilliance that engulfed Pullen, banishing the darkness back into the shadows from whence it came. As the dust settled and the echoes of battle faded, James stood panting, his friends at his side. The mark on his arm glowed softly, a reminder of the struggle they had faced. "We did it," Alara breathed, her eyes wide with disbelief. James nodded, a sense of triumph swelling within him. "Together," he said, looking at each of his friends. "We faced the darkness together." But deep within him, the mark still pulsed, a reminder that the battle was far from over. Pullen may have been defeated for now, but the darkness would always seek to reclaim its hold. As they stood in the glade, the sun rising on a new day, James knew that his journey was just beginning. In the days that followed, the academy buzzed with whispers of the confrontation. The elders praised James and his friends for their bravery, but they also cautioned them about the darkness that still lingered. "You have faced Pullen, but the mark on your arm is a reminder of the path ahead," one elder warned. "You must continue to train, to hone your skills, for the darkness will not rest." James took those words to heart, dedicating himself to his studies and training. He learned to harness the power of the mark, channeling it into spells that protected and healed rather than destroyed. With Alara and Rowan by his side, he grew stronger, mastering the intricacies of magic and forging deeper bonds of friendship. But as the months passed, the shadows continued to loom. James could feel the darkness stirring, a restless energy that whispered promises of power and temptation. He often found himself standing before the mirror, tracing the sigil on his arm, wondering if he could truly resist the call of the darkness. One evening, as the stars twinkled overhead, James gathered with Alara and Rowan in their favorite glade. "Do you ever worry about what the mark means?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. What if it's a sign that I'm destined for darkness? Alara shook her head, her eyes fierce with determination. You're not destined for anything but greatness, James. The mark is a part of you, but it doesn't define you. You have the power to choose. Rowan nodded in agreement. We'll face whatever comes together. You're not alone in this. As they spoke, a sense of hope blossomed within James. He realized that the mark, while a symbol of darkness, was also a testament to his strength and resilience. He had the power to shape his own destiny, to choose the light over the shadows. But as the days turned into weeks, the darkness continued to stir. Whispers of Flallan's return grew louder, and James could feel the weight of the mark pressing down on him. He knew that the battle was far from over, and that the true test of his strength lay ahead. As he prepared for the challenges to come, James vowed to embrace the light within him, to fight against the darkness that sought to consume him. With Alara and Rowan by his side, he would face whatever trials awaited, determined to forge his own path in the mystical land of Eldoria. And so, the journey began, a journey filled with magic, friendship, and the eternal struggle between light and darkness. The mark of the beast would not be his undoing, it would be the catalyst for his greatest triumphs. In the heart of Eldoria, a new legend was born, and the tale of James Potter had only just begun. Chapter 2. Shadows of the Past. Chapter 2. Shadows of the Past. The sun dipped low over Eldoria, casting long shadows across the verdant hills and ancient trees that surrounded Eldergrove Academy. The air was thick with the scent of blooming nightshade, a plant known for its magical properties and its association with the darker arts. James Potter stood on the balcony of his dormitory, the cool breeze ruffling his dark hair as he gazed out at the horizon, lost in thought. The mark on his arm, a swirling, crimson sigil, seemed to pulse with a life of its own, a constant reminder of the darkness that had once threatened to consume him. James, a voice called from behind him, breaking the spell of his reverie. It was Lily, her fiery red hair catching the last rays of sunlight. She approached him with a determined stride, her emerald eyes sparkling with mischief. Are you coming to the training grounds, or are you going to stand there brooding all evening? He turned to her, forcing a smile. Just thinking, that's all. About Flallan, she asked, her tone shifting to one of concern. You can't let him haunt you like this. We defeated him, remember? Defeated him, yes, James replied, his voice tinged with uncertainty. But the mark, it feels like a curse sometimes. What if it's a sign that he'll come back? Lily stepped closer, her expression softening. You're stronger than you think, James. We all are. Together, we can face anything. She reached out, placing her hand over the mark on his arm. A warm glow emanated from her touch, a reminder of their bond and the magic they shared. James took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her words. You're right, I just wish I could shake off the past completely. Then let's make new memories, she suggested, her smile returning. Come on, Sir Duke and Caliban are already at the training grounds, and Astra is probably trying to summon a storm or something equally dramatic. With a reluctant nod, James followed Lily down the winding staircase of Eldergrove Academy, the ancient stone walls echoing with the laughter and chatter of students preparing for the evening's training session. As they stepped outside, the vibrant colors of the sunset painted the sky, a stark contrast to the shadows that lingered in James's heart. The training grounds were alive with energy. Students practiced spells, their wands flickering with light as they conjured illusions and elemental magic. Sir Duke, a tall, broad-shouldered boy with a penchant for brute strength, was demonstrating a new spell to a group of younger students. You see, it's all about channeling your energy, he explained, his voice booming. If you focus, you can create a shield that can withstand any attack. Caliban, the quiet and studious member of their group, was seated cross-legged on the grass, surrounded by a collection of ancient tomes. His dark hair fell over his eyes as he scribbled notes, occasionally glancing up to observe Sir Duke's demonstration. That's great, Sir Duke, but remember that not all spells require brute force. Precision is key, he called out, adjusting his glasses. Astra, the wild card of their group, was perched on a nearby tree branch, her fingers dancing in the air as she summoned small gusts of wind. You're both missing the point. Magic is about creativity. Watch this. With a flourish, she sent a whirlwind of leaves spiraling into the air, creating a dazzling display of color. James couldn't help but smile at the sight of his friends, each one unique and talented in their own right. They had faced darkness together, and their bond had only grown stronger. Yet, the shadows of his past loomed large, whispering doubts that he struggled to silence. "Hey, James, you're missing the fun," Sir Duke called, waving him over. "Come show us what you've got." With a deep breath, James stepped forward, feeling the familiar rush of adrenaline. He raised his wand, channeling his energy as he focused on a simple spell, a flicker of light that danced at the tip. "All right, here goes," he declared, releasing the spell into the air. The light burst forth, illuminating the training grounds in a warm glow. Laughter erupted from his friends, and for a moment, the shadows receded, replaced by the warmth of camaraderie. But as the light faded, the mark on his arm throbbed, a reminder of the darkness that still lingered. As the training session continued, James found himself distracted, his mind wandering back to Pullen. The dark wizard had been vanquished, but the fear of his return gnawed at him. He had seen the depths of Pullen's power, the way darkness could twist and corrupt even the purest of hearts. What if the mark was a gateway, a connection to that darkness? "James," Lily's voice broke through his thoughts once more. "Are you with us?" He blinked, shaking his head to clear the fog. "Sorry, I was just thinking about Pullen again," she asked, her brow furrowing with concern. "Yeah," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "I can't shake the feeling that he's still out there, waiting for the right moment to strike." Lily stepped closer, her expression resolute. "We won't let that happen. We're a team, remember. Whatever comes our way, we'll face it together." James nodded, grateful for her unwavering support. "You're right, I just need to focus on the present." As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the training grounds into twilight, the group gathered around a small fire pit. The flickering flames danced in the cool evening air, casting shadows that flickered like memories. They shared stories of their adventures, laughter echoing into the night, but James couldn't shake the feeling that something was brewing just beyond the horizon. "Hey, what do you think Pullen is doing now?" Astra asked, her voice playful yet tinged with curiosity. "Do you think he's plotting his revenge, or is he just sulking in a dark cave somewhere?" "Probably both," Caliban replied, his tone serious. "He's not the type to give up easily. We need to stay vigilant." James felt a chill run down his spine at Caliban's words. What if he's searching for a way to regain his power? "The mark on my arm. It could be a link to him. Or it could be a reminder of your strength," Lily countered, her gaze steady. "You've overcome so much already. You're not the same boy who faced him before." "Yeah, but what if I'm not strong enough?" James whispered, the weight of his fears pressing down on him. "Then we'll find a way to make you stronger," Sir Duke declared, his voice booming with confidence. "We'll train harder, learn more spells, and if Pullen dares to show his face again, we'll be ready." The fire crackled, and for a moment, the warmth of their friendship enveloped James, pushing back the shadows that threatened to consume him. He looked around at his friends, Lily, Sir Duke, Caliban, and Astra, and felt a flicker of hope ignite within him. They were his family, his allies, and together they could face whatever darkness lay ahead. As the night deepened, they shared stories and laughter, weaving a tapestry of memories that would bind them together. But even as they reveled in the present, James couldn't shake the feeling that the shadows of the past were not done with him yet. Later that night, as he lay in bed, the mark on his arm glowed faintly in the darkness. He stared at it, feeling the weight of its significance. It was a reminder of his past, yes, but it was also a symbol of his potential. He could either let it define him or use it as a catalyst for growth. With a newfound determination, James closed his eyes and whispered a silent vow to himself. He would not let the shadows of the past dictate his future. He would embrace the light, the magic, and the bonds he had forged with his friends. Together, they would face whatever challenges awaited them, and he would not let fear hold him back. As he drifted into sleep, the flickering flames of the fire danced in his mind, illuminating the path ahead. The shadows may linger, but he was ready to step into the light. Chapter 3. The Call to Adventure. Chapter 3. The Call to Adventure. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a warm golden hue over the sprawling grounds of Eldergrove Academy. Students milled about, their laughter echoing through the air, a stark contrast to the unease that had begun to settle in the hearts of James Potter and his friends. The tranquility they had come to cherish was about to be shattered, and they could feel it in the very marrow of their bones. James stood at the edge of the Academy's lush gardens, his fingers tracing the mark of the beast on his arm. It pulsed faintly, a reminder of the darkness that had once threatened to consume him. He had fought valiantly against Pullen, but the shadows of his past were never far behind. As he gazed at the vibrant flowers swaying in the gentle breeze, he felt a sense of foreboding wash over him. Something was coming, and it would require all of their strength to face it. James. Lily's voice broke through his thoughts, her bright red hair catching the sunlight as she approached. Professor Elwyn wants to see us. It sounds urgent. Urgent, James echoed, a knot forming in his stomach. What do you think it's about? I don't know, but it can't be good, she replied, her brow furrowing with concern. Let's go find Sir Duke and Caliban. As they made their way through the academy, the air grew thick with tension. Students whispered in hushed tones, casting wary glances at the enchanted portraits that adorned the walls. The portraits, usually lively and animated, seemed to share in the unease, their expressions shifting from jovial to grave. When they reached Professor Elwyn's classroom, they found Sir Duke and Caliban already waiting. Sir Duke, with his tousled brown hair and mischievous grin, leaned against the wall, while Caliban, the ever-serious scholar, sat at a desk, poring over a tome filled with ancient runes. Did you hear? Sir Duke asked, his voice low. There's been talk of a dark wizard named Marduk Vandors. They say he's gathering followers and plotting something terrible. Yeah, I heard the rumors, James replied, crossing his arms. But what does that have to do with us? Just then, Professor Elwyn entered the room, her presence commanding immediate attention. The esteemed teacher of charms was known for her wisdom and grace, but today her expression was grave. She gestured for them to sit, and the room fell silent. Thank you for coming, she began, her voice steady yet laced with urgency. I wish I could say this was a simple matter, but I fear we are facing a grave threat. Marduk Vandors is indeed a powerful wizard, and his ambitions could spell disaster for Eldoria. What does he want? Lily asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Marduk seeks the golden rods of Eden, Professor Elwyn explained, her eyes narrowing. These ancient artifacts possess immense power, capable of bending the very fabric of reality to the wielder's will. If he succeeds in obtaining them, he could plunge our world into darkness. James felt a chill run down his spine. The golden rods of Eden were legendary, spoken of only in hushed tones among the most learned scholars. Where are they? He asked, his heart racing. They are hidden within the Cave of Treasures, Elwyn replied. A place shrouded in mystery and protected by powerful enchantments. It is said that only those pure of heart can find their way inside. Pure of heart, Sir Duke scoffed. That's a tall order. Indeed, Elwyn said, her gaze piercing. But I believe you and your friends possess the strength and courage needed for this task. You must locate the cave before Marduk does. Time is of the essence. James exchanged glances with Lily, Sir Duke, and Caliban. They had faced danger before, but this felt different. The weight of their responsibility pressed heavily upon them. What if we fail? Caliban asked, his voice steady but laced with concern. Then we risk losing everything we hold dear, Elwyn replied, her tone unwavering. But I have faith in you. You are more than just students, you are the future of Eldoria. With that, the gravity of their mission settled upon them like a heavy cloak. They were not just fighting for themselves, they were fighting for their home, their friends, and the very essence of magic itself. All right, James said, his voice firm. We'll do it. We'll find the Cave of Treasures and stop Marduk. Excellent, Elwyn said, a hint of relief washing over her features. You will need to prepare. Gather supplies, study the maps, and be ready to leave at dawn. The journey will not be easy, but I believe you can succeed. As they left the classroom, the weight of their task hung heavily in the air. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the academy grounds. James felt a mixture of fear and determination coursing through him. This was their call to adventure, and there was no turning back. Do you think we can really do this? Lily asked as they walked together, her voice barely above a whisper. James nodded, though uncertainty gnawed at him. We have to believe we can. We've faced darkness before, and we've come out stronger. Together, Sir Duke chimed in, a grin returning to his face. We're a team, remember. We've got each other's backs. Caliban, usually reserved, spoke up. And we have knowledge on our side. The texts in the library might hold clues about the cave and the rods. Right, James said, feeling a spark of hope. Let's meet in the library after dinner. We'll gather everything we can. As they parted ways, James couldn't shake the feeling that their lives were about to change forever. The mark on his arm throbbed with a familiar intensity, as if sensing the impending challenge. He had faced darkness before, but this time it felt different. This time, the stakes were higher. That night, as he lay in bed, the weight of the world pressed down on him. He stared at the ceiling, lost in thought. What if they failed? What if Marduk succeeded? The questions swirled in his mind, but he pushed them aside. He had to focus on the task ahead. Dawn broke with a brilliant display of colors, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink. James awoke with a renewed sense of purpose. He quickly dressed and made his way to the library, where his friends were already gathered, poring over ancient texts and maps. Good morning, Sir Duke greeted him, a hint of excitement in his voice. Ready to save the world. Let's hope it doesn't come to that, James replied, trying to keep the mood light. What have you found? Caliban looked up from a large tome, his brow furrowed in concentration. There are several references to the Cave of Treasures, but they're vague. It seems to shift locations based on the intentions of those seeking it. Great, Lily said, crossing her arms. So how do we find it? According to this, Caliban continued, pointing to a passage, the cave reveals itself to those who are true of heart. We'll need to focus on our intentions and work together. Then let's do it, James said, determination flooding his veins. We'll focus on our friendship, our loyalty, and our desire to protect Eldoria. As they gathered their supplies, potions, enchanted maps, and provisions, they felt a sense of camaraderie that bolstered their spirits. They were more than just friends, they were a family bound by a shared purpose. With their bags packed and their hearts steeled, they set out from Eldergrove Academy, the sun rising behind them, illuminating the path ahead. The journey to the Cave of Treasures would be fraught with challenges, but they were ready to face whatever lay ahead. As they ventured into the unknown, James felt the mark on his arm pulse with a strange energy, as if it were awakening to the call of adventure. He glanced at his friends, their faces filled with determination, and knew that together, they could overcome any darkness that threatened their world. And so, with the weight of destiny upon their shoulders, they stepped into the wilds of Eldoria, ready to confront the shadows that awaited them. The call to adventure had been answered, and their journey had only just begun. Chapter 4. The Journey Begins. Chapter 4. The Journey Begins. The sun rose over Eldoria, casting a golden hue across the landscape, illuminating the path that lay ahead for James Potter and his friends. The air was thick with anticipation, a palpable energy that crackled like static electricity. Today marked the beginning of their quest to find the Cave of Treasures, a journey that would test not only their magical abilities but also the strength of their friendship. As they gathered at the edge of Eldergrove Academy, the towering spires of the school loomed behind them, a reminder of the safety and comfort they were leaving behind. James stood at the forefront, his mark glowing faintly on his arm, a constant reminder of the darkness that had once threatened to consume him. He took a deep breath, feeling the weight of his destiny settle on his shoulders. Are we ready? Lily asked, her voice steady but laced with excitement. Her fiery red hair danced in the morning breeze, and her emerald eyes sparkled with determination. She had always been the heart of their group, her unwavering spirit inspiring them to push forward even in the face of adversity. Ready as we'll ever be, Sir Duke replied, adjusting the straps of his enchanted satchel. He was the strategist of the group, always thinking several steps ahead. His dark hair fell over his forehead, and he brushed it aside, revealing a focused expression. We need to stick together and watch each other's backs. Caliban, the gentle giant of the group, nodded in agreement. His broad shoulders and towering height often intimidated others, but his kind heart and loyalty made him a beloved friend. "I'll protect you all," he said, his voice deep and reassuring. "Nothing will get past me." Astra, the quiet yet fierce member of their team, stood slightly apart, her silver hair glinting in the sunlight. She had a knack for understanding the magical creatures of Eldoria, and her intuition often guided them through difficult situations. "We should set off before the sun gets too high," she suggested, her voice soft but firm. "The longer we wait, the more danger Marduk has to prepare." With a collective nod, the group stepped onto the winding path that led away from the academy. The enchanted forest surrounding them was alive with sounds, the rustling of leaves, the chirping of birds, and the distant roar of a waterfall. Each step they took felt like a step into the unknown, a leap of faith into a world filled with both wonder and peril. As they ventured deeper into the forest, the trees grew taller and denser, their branches intertwining like the fingers of ancient giants. The light filtered through the leaves, casting dappled shadows on the ground. James felt a thrill of excitement mixed with apprehension. This was no ordinary journey, it was a quest that could change the fate of Eldoria. "Do you think we'll really find the golden rods?" Lily asked, breaking the silence that had settled over them. "What if Marduk gets to them first?" James glanced at her, his heart swelling with determination. "We won't let that happen. We have to believe in ourselves and each other. Together, we're stronger than any dark wizard." Their path soon led them to a clearing where a shimmering pond lay nestled among the trees. The water sparkled like diamonds, and the air was thick with the scent of blooming flowers. It was a moment of respite, a brief pause in their journey. "Let's take a moment," Caliban suggested, his voice gentle. "We can refill our water and gather our thoughts." As they settled by the pond, James couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. He scanned the tree line, his instincts heightened. "Do you feel that?" he asked, his voice low. Lily nodded, her expression serious. "It's like the forest is alive. We should be cautious." Just then, a rustling sound broke the tranquility of the clearing. The group tensed, ready for anything. From the underbrush emerged a small, shimmering creature, a fairy, its wings glimmering in the sunlight. "Greetings, travelers," the fairy chimed, her voice like the tinkling of bells. "I am Lyriel, guardian of this forest. What brings you to our sacred grounds?" James stepped forward, his curiosity piqued. "We're on a quest to find the Cave of Treasures and the Golden Rods of Eden. We seek to stop Marduk Vandors from unleashing chaos upon Eldoria." Lyriel's expression turned grave. "Marduk is a dark force indeed. He seeks power that should remain hidden. But beware, for the path to the cave is fraught with trials. You must prove your worth to gain entry." "What kind of trials?" Serduk asked, his brow furrowing in concern. "The trials of heart, mind, and spirit," Lyriel replied, her wings fluttering softly. "You will face challenges that will test your bonds of friendship and your resolve. Only those who are true of heart may enter the cave." James exchanged glances with his friends, a mix of determination and trepidation in their eyes. "We're ready," he declared, his voice steady. "We'll face whatever challenges come our way." Lyriel smiled, a glimmer of hope in her eyes. "Then may the winds guide you, brave ones. Follow the path of the silver stones, and you shall find the entrance to the cave. But remember, the greatest strength lies not in magic, but in the bonds you share." With that, the fairy vanished into a swirl of light, leaving the group with a renewed sense of purpose. They gathered their belongings and set off once more, following the trail of silver stones that glimmered faintly in the underbrush. As they walked, the forest began to change. The trees grew twisted and gnarled, their bark darkening as if touched by shadow. An eerie silence enveloped them, and the air grew heavy with an unsettling energy. "Stay close," Astra whispered, her eyes darting around. "I don't like this." Suddenly, a low growl echoed through the trees, sending chills down their spines. From the shadows emerged a massive creature, a wolf-like beast with glowing red eyes and fur as dark as night. It snarled, baring its teeth, and the group instinctively formed a protective circle. "Get ready," James shouted, raising his wand. "We can't let it intimidate us." The beast lunged forward, and in that moment, time seemed to slow. James felt the mark on his arm pulse with energy, and he channeled that power into a spell. "Stupefy," he cried, sending a burst of light toward the creature. The spell struck the beast, momentarily stunning it. "Now," Sir Duke shouted, and the group sprang into action. Lily conjured a barrier of vines to restrain the creature, while Caliban used his strength to hold it in place. Astra, her voice steady, whispered an incantation that summoned a wave of calming energy. "We need to show it we mean no harm," she urged. As the beast struggled against the vines, James felt a surge of empathy. "Wait," he called out, lowering his wand. "We don't want to hurt you." The creature paused, its glowing eyes narrowing as it regarded them. Slowly, the tension in its body eased, and it ceased its thrashing. James stepped forward, his heart racing. "We're not your enemies. We're on a quest to protect Eldoria from darkness." To their surprise, the beast's expression softened, and it let out a low whine. The vines loosened, and it took a cautious step back, as if weighing its options. "See," Lily said, her voice gentle. "We can find common ground." The creature tilted its head, and in that moment, James understood. "You're a guardian of this forest, aren't you?" he asked, his voice calm. "You're protecting it from Marduk, just like we are." With a low growl, the beast nodded, and James felt a connection form between them, a shared purpose. "We're allies in this fight," he said, extending his hand. "Will you help us?" The creature stepped closer, sniffing the air before nuzzling James's hand. A bond was forged, and the group felt a wave of relief wash over them. They had faced their first trial and emerged victorious, not through force, but through understanding. "Let's keep moving," Sir Duke said, a smile breaking across his face. "We've got a cave to find." With their new ally by their side, the group pressed on, the path ahead illuminated by the silver stones. They felt a renewed sense of hope, knowing that together, they could face whatever challenges lay ahead. As they approached the mouth of the Cave of Treasures, the air grew cooler, and the shadows deepened. The entrance loomed before them, dark and foreboding, but they stood united, ready to confront the trials that awaited them within. "Together," James said, his voice steady. "We can do this." With a shared nod, they stepped into the darkness, their hearts filled with determination and the bonds of friendship stronger than ever. The journey had only just begun, but they were ready to face whatever awaited them in the depths of the Cave of Treasures. Chapter 5. Trials and Tribulations. Chapter 5. Trials and Tribulations. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across the enchanted landscape of Eldoria. The air was thick with the scent of pine and the distant sound of rushing water. James Potter, marked by the ominous sigil on his arm, led his friends deeper into the heart of the wilderness, where the whispers of ancient magic beckoned them forward. Each step felt heavier than the last, as if the weight of their quest pressed down upon them. "Are we sure we're heading in the right direction?" Lily asked, her voice tinged with uncertainty. She brushed a strand of hair behind her ear, her emerald eyes scanning the dense foliage. The forest seemed alive, its vibrant colors a stark contrast to the darkness they were about to confront. James turned to her, a reassuring smile on his face. "The map says we should be close to the Cave of Treasures. We just need to trust in each other and our abilities." He glanced at the mark on his arm, feeling its familiar burn. It was a reminder of the darkness that had once threatened to consume him, and now, it served as a beacon of determination. Sir Duke, the group's steadfast warrior, stepped forward, his broad shoulders squared. "We've faced worse than this. Remember the trials of the Enchanted Marsh. We made it through that together." His voice was a steady anchor, grounding them amidst their fears. Caliban, the ever-curious scholar, adjusted his glasses and consulted the map again. "According to this, we should encounter the River of Reflections soon. It's said that those who gaze into its waters must confront their deepest fears." He looked up, his expression serious. "We need to be prepared for what we might see." Astra, the group's empath and healer, nodded in agreement. "The River of Reflections is a powerful place. It can show us things we may not be ready to face. But if we stand together, we can overcome anything." Her voice was soft yet firm, a reminder of the bond they shared. As they pressed on, the trees began to thin, revealing a shimmering river that wound its way through the landscape. The water sparkled like diamonds under the fading sunlight, and the air was filled with an ethereal hum. They approached the riverbank cautiously, each of them feeling the pull of the water's magic. "Remember, we must face whatever comes," James said, his heart racing. He stepped closer to the edge, peering into the depths of the river. The surface rippled, and images began to form, visions of their past, their fears, and their insecurities. Lily was the first to step forward, her reflection morphing into a vision of her standing alone, surrounded by darkness. She saw herself reaching out for James, but he was just out of reach, lost in shadows. The fear of losing him gripped her heart, and she gasped, stepping back. "Lily," James called, concern etched on his face. "What did you see?" I saw us, but it felt so distant," she stammered, her voice trembling. "What if I can't protect you? What if I lose you to the darkness?" James reached for her hand, squeezing it tightly. "You won't lose me, we're in this together, remember." Next, Sir Duke approached the river, his reflection showing a younger version of himself, standing in a battlefield, surrounded by fallen comrades. The weight of guilt washed over him as he relived the moment he felt he had failed to protect those he loved. "I should have been there for them," he whispered, his voice cracking. "Sir Duke, you can't carry that burden alone," Astra said gently, stepping beside him. "You've fought for us every day. You're not alone anymore." Caliban was next, his reflection revealing a classroom filled with students, but they were laughing at him, mocking his intelligence. "I'm not enough," he murmured, his heart sinking. "I'll never be as powerful as the others." "Caliban, your knowledge is a strength," Lily said, stepping forward. "You've helped us more than you realize. We wouldn't have made it this far without your wisdom." Finally, Astra approached the river, her reflection showing her as a child, alone and afraid, her powers untamed. "What if I can't control my magic?" she whispered, tears brimming in her eyes. "What if I hurt someone?" James stepped forward, his voice steady. "You have the power to heal, Astra. You've saved us countless times. Your heart is your greatest strength." Confronted their fears, the bond between them grew stronger. They realized that their insecurities were not weaknesses but parts of their journey that shaped who they were. Together, they could face anything. With newfound resolve, they turned away from the river, ready to continue their quest. As they walked, the shadows of their fears lingered, but they no longer felt alone. They had each other, and that was enough. The path ahead twisted and turned, leading them to a steep cliffside. The entrance to the Cave of Treasures loomed before them, dark and foreboding. A chill ran down James's spine as he approached the mouth of the cave, the mark on his arm pulsing with energy. "Are we ready?" he asked, glancing at his friends. Each of them nodded, determination etched on their faces. "Together," Sir Duke affirmed, stepping forward. "Together," they echoed, their voices united. As they entered the cave, the darkness enveloped them, but they pressed on, their hearts beating as one. The air was thick with magic, and the walls shimmered with ancient runes. They could feel the presence of the golden rods of Eden, hidden deep within the cave, waiting for them to claim their power. But as they ventured deeper, they encountered obstacles that tested their resolve. Shadows danced along the walls, whispering doubts and fears, trying to pry them apart. Each challenge forced them to confront their insecurities once more, but they stood firm, drawing strength from one another. "Remember what we faced at the River of Reflections," Astra reminded them as they navigated a treacherous path lined with illusions. "We can't let the darkness divide us." With every step, they fought against the shadows, their magic intertwining, creating a shield of light that pushed back the darkness. They were no longer just individuals, they were a team, united by their shared experiences and unwavering trust. Finally, they reached a vast chamber, illuminated by the soft glow of the golden rods of Eden, resting upon a pedestal at the center. The air crackled with energy, and James felt the mark on his arm burn fiercely. This was it, the moment they had been preparing for. But as they approached the rods, a figure emerged from the shadows. Marduk Vandors, the dark wizard they had been warned about, stood before them, a sinister smile on his lips. "You've come far, but this is where your journey ends," he sneered, his eyes gleaming with malice. James stepped forward, his heart racing. "We won't let you take the rods." We're stronger together. Marduk laughed, a chilling sound that echoed through the chamber. Strength. You think your friendship can save you? I will take what is rightfully mine. With a wave of his hand, he unleashed a torrent of dark magic, and the chamber erupted into chaos. The friends fought back, their combined magic clashing against Marduk's dark forces. Each spell they cast was fueled by their determination to protect one another. As the battle raged on, James felt the mark on his arm surge with power. He realized that it was not a curse but a source of strength. Channeling that energy, he unleashed a powerful spell, illuminating the chamber with blinding light. The darkness recoiled, and for a moment, Marduk faltered. Now, James shouted, rallying his friends. They focused their magic, combining their strengths into a single, radiant beam that surged toward Marduk. The dark wizard screamed as the light engulfed him, banishing him into the shadows from whence he came. As the dust settled, the chamber fell silent. The golden rods of Eden shimmered before them, their power now within reach. James approached the pedestal, his heart pounding with anticipation. He reached out, feeling the warmth of the rods radiating through him. We did it, Lily breathed, her eyes wide with awe. James turned to his friends, a smile breaking across his face. We did it together. In that moment, they understood that their trials had forged an unbreakable bond. They had faced their fears, confronted darkness, and emerged stronger than ever. The mark on James's arm no longer felt like a burden, it was a symbol of their triumph over adversity. As they claimed the golden rods of Eden, they knew their journey was far from over. But with their friendship as their greatest strength, they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead in the mystical land of Eldoria. Together, they would write their own destiny, one filled with magic, courage, and unwavering loyalty. Chapter 6. The Cave of Treasures. Chapter 6. The Cave of Treasures. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden hue over the rugged landscape of Eldoria. The air was thick with anticipation as James Potter and his friends stood before the entrance of the Cave of Treasures. The mouth of the cave yawned wide, a dark maw that seemed to beckon them into the unknown. Shadows danced along the rocky walls, whispering secrets of the ancient artifacts hidden within. Are we really ready for this? Lily asked, her voice barely above a whisper. She shifted her weight nervously, her emerald eyes darting between the cave and her friends. The mark on James's arm glimmered faintly in the fading light, a reminder of the darkness they were up against. We've come this far, Sir Duke replied, his voice steady. He adjusted the strap of his satchel, filled with potions and charms they had prepared for their journey. We can't turn back now. Marduk Vandors won't wait for us to gather our courage. Caliban, the ever-optimistic member of the group, grinned. Besides, think of the stories we'll tell. The great adventure to the Cave of Treasures. It'll be legendary. Astra, who had been quietly observing the cave's entrance, finally spoke. Legends often come with a price. We must be cautious. The cave is said to be filled with illusions and traps designed to protect the golden rods. James took a deep breath, feeling the weight of his friend's expectations and the burden of his mark. We'll face whatever lies ahead together. We've already overcome so much. This is just another challenge. With a shared nod of determination, the group stepped into the cave. The darkness enveloped them, and the air grew cooler. As they ventured deeper, the flickering light from their wands illuminated intricate carvings on the walls, depictions of ancient wizards and mythical creatures, guardians of the treasures that lay ahead. Look at these carvings, Lily said, tracing her fingers over the stone. They tell a story. Of power and greed, Sir Duke added, his brow furrowing. These artifacts have drawn many to their doom. As they walked further into the cave, the atmosphere shifted. The air crackled with magic, and the ground beneath their feet began to tremble. Suddenly, a low growl echoed through the cavern, sending chills down their spines. What was that? Astra whispered, her voice trembling. Stay close, James instructed, gripping his wand tightly. We need to be ready for anything. The growl grew louder, and from the shadows emerged a massive creature, a stone golem, its eyes glowing with an eerie light. It stood between them and the path forward, its rocky form imposing and immovable. Defend yourselves, James shouted, raising his wand. The others quickly followed suit, readying their spells. The golem lunged forward, its massive fist swinging. Serduk reacted first, casting a shield charm that deflected the blow. We need to find a way to outsmart it. Look for a weakness, Lily called out, her mind racing. Maybe there's a way to distract it. Caliban, ever the quick thinker, pointed to a series of glowing crystals embedded in the cave walls. Those crystals, they might be its source of power. Let's break them, Astra suggested, her eyes alight with determination. James nodded, rallying his friends. On 3. 1, 2, 3. Together, they unleashed a barrage of spells at the crystals. The cave erupted in a shower of sparks as the golem roared in fury, its form beginning to crack and crumble. With one final blast, the last crystal shattered, and the golem collapsed into a pile of rubble. Panting, the group exchanged relieved glances. That was close, Serduk said, wiping sweat from his brow. But we did it, Caliban cheered, his enthusiasm infectious. As they pressed on, the cave began to shift around them. Illusions danced in the corners of their vision, phantoms of their deepest fears and insecurities. James saw himself standing alone, the mark on his arm glowing ominously as shadows closed in around him. He felt the familiar weight of despair creeping in, but he shook his head, forcing himself to focus. James, Lily's voice broke through the haze. Don't let it get to you. He turned to her, finding strength in her unwavering gaze. You're right, I can't let this mark define me. The illusions began to fade as they moved deeper into the cave, but the challenges were far from over. They encountered riddles that tested their intellect and traps that required quick thinking and teamwork to navigate. Each trial brought them closer together, revealing the depths of their loyalty and courage. At one point, they found themselves in a chamber filled with shimmering pools of water. The reflections showed not only their physical forms but also their true selves, fears, hopes, and dreams laid bare. James saw his mark, but beside it, he also saw the faces of his friends, their unwavering support shining through the darkness. Look, Astra exclaimed, pointing to a pedestal at the center of the chamber. The golden rods. The rods glimmered with an ethereal light, each one radiating immense power. But as they approached, a barrier of shimmering energy sprang up, blocking their path. To claim the rods, you must prove your worth, a voice echoed through the chamber, resonating from the very walls. Face your greatest fear. The group exchanged anxious glances. What does that mean? Serduk asked, his voice laced with uncertainty. It means we must confront what we've been avoiding, James said, his heart racing. Together. One by one, they stepped forward, facing the barrier. Each friend was enveloped in a shimmering light, and the cave transformed around them, revealing their deepest fears. Lily found herself in a dark forest, alone and lost. Shadows whispered her insecurities, taunting her about her feelings for James. You'll never be enough, they hissed. But she stood tall, recalling the strength of her friendship. I am enough, she declared, her voice steady. I won't let fear control me. Serduk faced a raging storm, the winds howling with doubt. You're not a true wizard, the storm roared. You'll never be powerful. I define my own power, he shouted back, summoning a shield of magic that pushed the storm away. Caliban found himself in a vast arena, surrounded by spectators who mocked him for his dreams of adventure. You'll never be a hero, they jeered. But he raised his chin, determination shining in his eyes. I'll be the hero of my own story, he proclaimed, and the arena faded away. Astra faced a mirror reflecting her past failures, each mistake magnified. You'll always be a failure, the mirror taunted. No, she said firmly, stepping forward. I learn from my mistakes. They make me stronger. Finally, it was James's turn. He stood before a swirling darkness, the mark on his arm glowing brighter than ever. You were destined for darkness, a voice echoed, chilling him to the bone. No, he shouted, clenching his fists. I choose my own path. I won't let this mark define me. With that declaration, the darkness shattered, and the barrier around the golden rods dissolved. The rods floated toward them, each one glowing with a warm light. As they grasped the rods, a surge of power coursed through them, binding their friendship even tighter. They had faced their fears and emerged victorious, not just as individuals but as a united force. Together, We can do anything, James said, looking at his friends with pride. With the golden rods in hand, they made their way back through the cave, the path now illuminated by the light of their newfound strength. They had discovered that the true treasure lay not only in the artifacts but in the bonds they had forged along the way. As they emerged from the cave, the sun rose on the horizon, casting a warm glow over Eldoria. They stood together, ready to face whatever challenges awaited them, united by their friendship and the knowledge that they could overcome any darkness. "Let's go stop Marduk," James said, determination shining in his eyes. Together. And with that, they set forth, their hearts filled with hope and courage, ready to embrace the adventures that lay ahead. Chapter 7. The Heart of Shadows. Chapter 7. The Heart of Shadows. The air within the Cave of Treasures was thick with anticipation, a palpable tension that crackled like static electricity. Shadows danced along the walls, flickering in the dim light cast by the enchanted torches that lined the cavern. James Potter stood at the forefront of his friends, his heart pounding in his chest, the mark on his arm glowing faintly as if in response to the energy swirling around them. They had come so far, faced so many trials, and now the golden rods of Eden lay just beyond their reach. "Are we ready?" Lily whispered, her voice barely audible over the echoing drip of water from the stalactites above. Her emerald eyes searched James's face, seeking reassurance. He nodded, though uncertainty gnawed at him. The mark on his arm felt heavier than ever, a reminder of the darkness that had once threatened to consume him. "Let's do this," Sir Duke said, his voice steady, though his hands trembled slightly as he gripped his wand. Caliban and Astra flanked him, their expressions a mix of determination and trepidation. Together, they formed a united front, a shield against the encroaching shadows. As they stepped deeper into the cave, the air grew colder, and the walls seemed to close in around them. The path twisted and turned, leading them through chambers filled with glittering treasures and ancient relics. But their eyes were fixed on the prize that lay ahead, the golden rods, rumored to possess the power to reshape reality itself. "Look," Astra exclaimed, pointing to a shimmering light that flickered at the end of the passage. It pulsed rhythmically, drawing them closer like moths to a flame. That must be it. But as they approached, a chilling laughter echoed through the cave, reverberating off the stone walls. The light dimmed, and a figure emerged from the shadows, cloaked in darkness. Marduk Vandor stood before them, his presence a blight upon the cave's beauty. "Fools," he sneered, his voice dripping with malice. "You think you can claim the golden rods? They belong to me. With their power, I will unleash chaos upon Eldoria." James felt a surge of fear and anger. Marduk's very essence was a reminder of the darkness he had fought so hard to escape. "You won't get away with this," he shouted, stepping forward, his wand raised defiantly. Marduk's eyes glinted with amusement. "Ah, the boy with the mark. You think you can stand against me? You are nothing but a shadow of your potential." With a flick of his wrist, Marduk unleashed a wave of dark energy that surged toward them. James instinctively raised his wand, casting a protective barrier. The force of the attack collided with his magic, sending shockwaves through the cave. The ground trembled beneath their feet, and the walls shook as if the very cave itself was responding to the clash of power. "Stay together," Lily shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. "We can't let him divide us." James felt the warmth of his friend's presence beside him, their determination bolstering his resolve. He could feel the mark on his arm pulsing in rhythm with their hearts, a reminder that he was not alone in this fight. Together, they could harness the strength of their friendship to overcome the darkness. "Let's show him what we're made of," Sir Duke yelled, rallying them. With a shared glance, they nodded, their bond unbreakable. "On 3, Caliban counted down, his voice steady. 1, 2, 3. In unison, they unleashed a torrent of magic, a brilliant display of colors that illuminated the cave. The combined force of their spells collided with Marduk's dark energy, creating a blinding explosion that echoed through the cavern. For a moment, time seemed to stand still as light and darkness battled for supremacy. But Marduk was not easily defeated. He laughed, a sound that sent shivers down their spines. "You think this is enough? You are merely children playing with toys." With a wave of his hand, he summoned shadows that twisted and writhed, forming monstrous shapes that lunged at the group. James felt a surge of panic, but he quickly pushed it aside. He remembered the trials they had faced, the fears they had conquered together. They were stronger than they had ever been. Focus, Astra shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. Remember what we've learned. James closed his eyes for a brief moment, drawing on the memories of their journey, the laughter, the tears, the moments of triumph. He could feel the warmth of his friends beside him, their unwavering support a beacon of light in the encroaching darkness. He opened his eyes, determination burning within him. Together, he cried, raising his wand high. We can do this. With renewed vigor, they combined their magic once more, channeling their energy into a single, powerful spell. The light surged forward, illuminating the cave and pushing back the shadows. Marduk's laughter faltered as the brilliance enveloped him, the darkness recoiling in fear. No, this cannot be, he screamed, his voice filled with rage and disbelief. The shadows writhed and twisted, but James and his friends pressed on, their magic intertwining like a tapestry of light. They could feel the power of the golden rods resonating in the air, a call to their hearts. They were not just fighting for themselves, they were fighting for Eldoria, for the future, and for each other. As the light surged forward, it collided with Marduk, engulfing him in a radiant explosion. The cave trembled, and for a moment, it felt as if the very fabric of reality was shifting. James could feel the darkness within him battling against the light, but he refused to yield. He had faced the shadows before, and he would not let them consume him again. Let go of the darkness, he shouted, his voice echoing through the cavern. You are not your mark. You are more than the shadows that haunt you. With those words, the light intensified, breaking through the darkness that had once threatened to engulf him. Marduk's screams filled the air as the shadows dissipated, leaving only a faint echo behind. The cave fell silent, the oppressive weight of darkness lifting as the light enveloped them. As the brilliance faded, James found himself standing amidst the remnants of the battle. Marduk was gone, his dark presence banished from the cave. The golden rods of Eden lay before them, glowing softly in the aftermath of their victory. We did it, Lily breathed, her eyes wide with disbelief. We actually did it. James turned to his friends, a smile breaking across his face. We did it together. They approached the golden rods, their hearts swelling with pride and relief. Each rod shimmered with an ethereal light, a testament to their triumph over darkness. But as they reached out to claim their prize, James felt a flicker of uncertainty. What now? He asked, glancing at the rods. What do we do with this power? Lily stepped forward, her expression thoughtful. We use it to protect Eldoria, to ensure that darkness like Marduk's never threatens our home again. James nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settle upon him. The mark on his arm pulsed gently, a reminder that he would always carry a piece of that darkness within him. But he also knew that he was not alone. With his friends by his side, he could face whatever challenges lay ahead. As they gathered around the golden rods, a sense of hope filled the cave. They had faced the heart of shadows and emerged victorious, their bonds stronger than ever. Together, they would forge a new path, one illuminated by the light of their friendship and the promise of a brighter future. In that moment, James understood that the true treasure of their journey lay not in the golden rods, but in the love and loyalty they had discovered within themselves and each other. And as they prepared to leave the Cave of Treasures, he knew that no darkness could ever extinguish the light they had created together. Chapter 8. Love and Sacrifice. Chapter 8. Love and Sacrifice. The air in Eldoria was thick with the scent of damp earth and the lingering magic that pulsed through the land. As James Potter and his friends emerged from the Cave of Treasures, the weight of their victory settled upon them like a warm cloak. They had faced Marduk Vandors, the embodiment of darkness, and emerged triumphant. Yet, as they stood on the precipice of their next chapter, the shadows of their recent battle loomed large in their hearts. James felt the familiar tug of the mark on his arm, a constant reminder of the darkness he had faced and the sacrifices that had been made. He glanced at his friends, Lily, Sir Duke, Caliban, and Astra, each of them bearing their own scars from the journey. They had fought valiantly, and their bond had deepened in ways he could never have imagined. But as he looked at Lily, her hair tousled and eyes bright with the thrill of victory, he felt a different kind of weight settle in his chest. James, Lily's voice broke through his reverie, pulling him back to the present. Are you all right? He nodded, though uncertainty flickered in his eyes. Just thinking about everything that happened. We did it, but it feels like there's more to come. Lily stepped closer, her gaze unwavering. We're stronger now. Together, we can face anything. Her words resonated within him, igniting a spark of hope. But beneath that hope lay a fear he had yet to confront. The battle had shown him the depths of his feelings for her, feelings that had been simmering beneath the surface for far too long. He had nearly lost her, and the thought of a life without her was unbearable. Lily, he began, his voice barely above a whisper. I need to tell you something. Before he could gather his thoughts, Serduke's voice boomed from behind them. Hey, lovebirds, we should get moving before Marduk's minions find us. The last thing we need is another fight. James shot Serduke a glare, but the moment had passed. He could feel the tension in the air, the unspoken words hanging between him and Lily. With a resigned sigh, he turned to the group. Let's head back to Eldergrove. We have a lot to discuss. As they made their way through the enchanted forest, the sunlight filtered through the leaves, casting dappled shadows on the ground. The journey back felt different, lighter yet heavier at the same time. They had achieved what they set out to do, but the emotional toll weighed heavily on James. Do you think Marduk will come after us again? Caliban asked, his brow furrowed with concern. Astra shook her head, her voice steady. We defeated him, but darkness has a way of lingering. We must remain vigilant. James nodded, but his thoughts were elsewhere. He couldn't shake the feeling that their victory was only the beginning. The mark on his arm pulsed, a reminder that the darkness was not just an external force, it was also a part of him. As they reached the outskirts of Eldergrove Academy, the familiar sight of the towering spires and lush gardens brought a sense of comfort. But as they stepped onto the grounds, a sense of foreboding settled over them. The academy felt different, as if it too had been touched by the darkness they had faced. Let's report to Professor Elowen, Lily suggested, her voice steady despite the uncertainty in the air. They made their way to the grand hall, where Professor Elowen awaited them, her expression a mixture of relief and concern. You've returned. I was worried about you all. The news of your victory against Marduk has spread, but I sense there's more to your journey than just a battle. James stepped forward, the weight of their experiences pressing down on him. We found the golden rods of Eden, but it came at a cost. Marduk was powerful, and I felt the darkness within me rise during the fight. Elowen's eyes narrowed, her wisdom evident. The mark on your arm is a part of you, James. It signifies both your potential and the darkness you must confront. You cannot ignore it. I know, he replied, frustration bubbling beneath the surface. But how do I confront something that feels so consuming? Lily placed a hand on his arm, grounding him. You're not alone, James. We're all here for you. Elowen nodded, her expression softening. Love and sacrifice are intertwined, James. To truly embrace your power, you must understand the sacrifices that come with it. Your bond with Lily and your friends will guide you through the darkness. James felt a surge of emotion at her words. The sacrifices they had made for one another, the risks they had taken, had forged a bond that was unbreakable. But as he looked at Lily, he knew he had to confront his feelings head-on. Lily, he said, his voice steady. I need to tell you how I feel. I realized during the battle that I can't imagine my life without you. You mean more to me than I ever knew. Lily's eyes widened, surprise mingling with joy. James, Before she could finish, Serduke interrupted, a teasing grin on his face. Oh, come on, we just defeated a dark wizard, and you two are going to start a romance now. Can't this wait until after we celebrate? Caliban chuckled, but Astra shot him a warning look. Let them speak, Serduke. This is important. James took a deep breath, his heart racing. Lily, I want to be with you. I want to face whatever comes next together. Lily's expression softened, and she stepped closer, her hand finding his. I feel the same way, James. I've always felt it, but I was scared. The moment hung in the air, charged with unspoken promises and the weight of their shared experiences. James leaned in, and as their lips met, the world around them faded away. It was a kiss filled with the warmth of love and the understanding that they had faced darkness together and emerged stronger. As they pulled away, Sir Duke clapped his hands, breaking the spell. All right, enough of the mushy stuff. We have a celebration to plan. Caliban nodded enthusiastically. We should gather everyone and share the news. They deserve to know what we've accomplished. Astra smiled, her eyes sparkling with excitement. And we can finally relax for a bit. We've earned it. As they made their way to the courtyard, the atmosphere shifted. Students and faculty alike gathered, their faces alight with curiosity and anticipation. James felt a swell of pride as he stood with his friends, the golden rods of Eden safely in their possession. Professor Elowen stepped forward, her voice carrying over the crowd. Today, we celebrate not only the defeat of Marduk Vandors but also the strength of friendship and love that has brought us together. James, Lily, Sir Duke, Caliban, and Astra have shown us that even in the face of darkness, hope prevails. Cheers erupted from the crowd, and James felt a warmth spread through him. He glanced at Lily, who beamed with joy, and he knew that this was just the beginning. They had faced the darkness and emerged victorious, but the journey ahead would require even more courage and sacrifice. As the festivities began, laughter and music filled the air. James felt a sense of belonging, surrounded by friends who had become family. He knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. Later that evening, as the stars twinkled above, James and Lily found a quiet spot away from the celebration. The moonlight bathed them in a soft glow, and he took her hand, feeling the warmth of her presence. "Thank you for being by my side," he said softly. "I don't know what I would do without you." Lily smiled, her eyes reflecting the starlight. "We're in this together, James. No matter what comes next, we'll face it side by side." In that moment, James understood the true meaning of love and sacrifice. It wasn't just about the battles they fought or the darkness they faced. It was about the bonds they forged and the willingness to stand by one another, no matter the cost. As they stood together, the weight of the mark on his arm felt lighter, a reminder that love could conquer even the darkest of shadows. Together, they would embrace the future, ready to face whatever challenges awaited them in the mystical land of Eldoria.